Hey, if you're here, then there's a good chance you've already seen the last video of Mario Kart Wii. In that video, we went through all 36 vehicles and rated them based off how road legal they would be in the real world. Now, God forbid you went into the comments of that video because you would find a lot of criticism saying, I got a lot of things wrong. Well then, this time, a lot more depth went into making this video. Part of that is because there's way more things to rate in this game, with wheels being their own separate entities and just there being a lot more vehicles in general. The other part of that is to make sure this doesn't end up being some bullshit video because I've spent too long on this for that to end up being the case. How this is going to work is we're going to look at the cars and bikes one at a time and nitpick at their flaws and issues. I'll give them a score out of 10, 10 being very legal and 1 being very illegal. And to keep track, I'll display them on a tier list. I'll decide how dangerous the flaws are and then dock the vehicle a number of points that are proportionate to the severity of the law. If there isn't technically a law against it, but it still obviously wouldn't be legal, I am still gonna dock it. I'm gonna be as lenient as possible. I'll only apply this in severe cases. For example, a car that's made entirely of gold. I just want to quickly reference this guy who wrote an absolute behemoth of a comment, pretty much giving his input by reviewing every vehicle himself. He made much more realistic and specified points than me, and I applied quite a few of them in this video, so yeah, thank you very much. Anyway, now we can move on to some actual rankings. No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about gliders. Now, unless something inconceivable happens between the recording and release of this video, which it won't, I don't even know why I'm saying this, gliders are not legal, and they won't be for a very long time, if ever. So every glider in the game F tier, 0 out of 10. Whatever ranking system you want to apply, it's the bottom one. Yeah. Now let's actually move on to some genuine rankings. So here are the laws and just rule sets we are using for wheels. Feel like it goes without saying, but I just want to quickly mention that there's some things that we just can't measure, like tire pressure, for obvious reasons. If it's to do with anything we can't physically see, then there's no way of knowing. These are just models at the end of the day. So this is just taking into account the things we see on the surface. That being said, there are still quite a few laws we have to apply. I feel like most of this stuff is fairly obvious, so it doesn't really need a run through, but for those who are a bit clueless on some of these, tread, for starters, is the engravings you see on the wheel of a car. It's what keeps friction with the road, especially when it's wet. As long as the wheel is fairly filled out with tread, then we'll just say it surpasses this law. The tread depth just refers to how deep the tread goes. It has to go past a certain point, otherwise it's referred to as a bald tire. The game makes it look like there's no tread depth at all, but that's just because the visuals are straight ass, so that's obviously not fair. So we'll just say, if the tread's trying to go inwards, then we'll just say it has tread depth. Otherwise, if it's going outwards, then it doesn't have tread depth. As for the bike axle law, pretty much a bike axle is the thing connecting a bike frame to the wheel, and every bike in this game has one on only one side. The reason for this is because the anti-gravity feature wouldn't work with bikes if there were bike axles on both sides. The animation would be impossible. It's a weird law that's sort of in the grey area, because Google Gemini was adamant that you need bike axles on both sides, but we've definitively banished Google Gemini as a source of info, considering most of what I got wrong last video was a direct result of Google Gemini's incompetence and not at all down to me. I also didn't find anything else regarding an MOT failure if you don't have bike axles on both sides, so you know what? I'm not even going to apply this law because it's either a case of this law doesn't exist or it's not important enough to be covered anywhere on the internet, apparently. And finally, it says we can only partly measure the size of the wheel, which is just not true. I think I was just saying that there's no way of knowing the exact size of the wheels, but as long as they don't look freakishly small on the cars, then they'll pass this law. First, we got the standard wheel. Nothing much to say about this. It's a standard wheel, isn't it? So it's just a, for the most part, plain normal wheel, so I guess a 10 out of 10. The rubber's blue. We will be speed running through some of these entries because some of them I just have nothing to say about. Not these ones though. These ones are problems. The F1 wheels, aren't they? And F1 wheels aren't legal for many reasons, but it's mainly because of the tread. If we can see, there's literally one ring. That is not enough. that's not enough to keep friction for the entire wheel. There needs to be sort of tread going throughout all. F1 wheels don't have tread because they don't really need it, but they would need it if they wanted to perform on a real road. And I think this is a pretty severe law. And the tread is quite important in a wheel. It's doing a lot more than keeping friction that I don't really want to go into because it's kind of hard to explain. I might just put a picture explaining what tread is right now on the video. But yeah, it's important. I've docked it 4 points for that. It gets a 6 out of 10. Alright, the Prowler wheels. This is the exact same thing. Again, it's just a color swap. A lot more ugly. This one actually has 2 rings of tread for whatever reason, which is, to be frank, minimal improvement. It's still doing absolutely nothing. Probably wouldn't make a difference whatsoever, so I'm not gonna even look into that. Now, else to say about this, it gets a 6 out of 10. Off-road wheels, they're approved. Just standard wheels. The slim wheels, okay. I'm kind of waffling, they're legal, 10 out of 10. Crimson slim wheels, again, the tread on these ones do look a bit questionable, but I'm not going that far into this. It's fine. It really doesn't matter. It's a 10 out of 10. The monster wheels. Okay. These wheels, and initially I didn't think they are approved. Initially I didn't think they didn't really have a strong tire rim, although I think this will be allowed, to be honest. The tread depth also had me sort of wincing, but I think it's fine. It gets a 10 out of 10. The hot monster wheels, however, funnily enough, even though this is basically just a color swap, there is an aspect of this that actually is working against its road legality, and that is the tread pattern. Circular tread, I don't think would be allowed, and that's mainly because I think it wouldn't be a very functional tread. I think it would wear pretty quickly, considering it's coming out of the tire. As well, the edges of the tread, as in like the circles, they're curved and not sharp, so I think it could hinder the grip and traction with the road. I could very well be wrong, but you can't argue with the fact that if you search up tire tread designs, none of them look even remotely close to this design. Now that I'm saying this all out loud, I think this is less about the tread being a circular pattern and more about it just coming outwards, which is exactly what the original Monster Wheels treads does. So you know what? I know this is going to make everything a bit more convoluted now, but I've just had a sudden epiphany, which I can't help. So both of them are going to get a 7 out of 10 because of nothing to do with the tread pattern, just because they have an outie tread. Metal wheels. Okay, we're getting onto the problematic wheels here. I bet you won't be able to guess what's wrong with this. It's the rubber. There's no rubber on this. Say this is pretty severe. It would not handle well. It would gray. It would like be hard to turn. It would handle like shit. In hindsight, I don't think I docked it enough points. I gave it a 4 out of 10. This would make your car practically undrivable. But you know what? That's a problem for me in the future. Wooden wheels, right. Again, we have just covered the metal wheels. This is the exact same thing. No rubber. And it's also a weak material. Like, I'd be surprised if this didn't snap on the first drive around. I don't think wood is going to be able to support a 2-ton vehicle. There's no rubber on it, and it's a weak material. I guess a 1 out of 10. It probably deserves a 0 out of 10, but comparatively speaking, there are wheels that get way shittier than this, so this is pretty fair. We got the roller wheels. Okay. This one is a weird one because there are some vehicles that this could maybe be used for, although that's even a bit of a stretch. What I'm getting at here is that they're too small. I don't think they'd be able to support a car. The tread's also questionable, but I haven't pointed that out. I don't even think they'd be able to elevate your car. You'd be sort of scraping along the floor. So yeah, they get a 5 out of 10. Maybe I'm being a bit easy on these, but you know, docking something over 5 points for one law seems a bit too harsh. We've got the same wheels again. The Azure roller wheels, there's no difference. They're just blue. They're too small and it gets a 5 out of 10. What's happening? We got the bottom wheels. These are the baby stroller wheels of the wheel category. These are probably the worst wheels we have. They're buttons. They're not functioning, are they? To be fair, they do look pretty big on this image. I won't lie. I don't know why this is moving so slow. The bottom wheels, they have no tire rim, no rubber, very weak material. I cannot tell whether it's wood or plastic. Either way, I actually need to do something here. Yeah, anyway, it gets a 0 out of 10. Sponge wheels. The thing is, this is where some problems arise, because I don't know whether these are literally made out of sponge. Because you could argue it's called a sponge wheel because it looks like a sponge, but it just doesn't. And I just want to make it clear that it still does have a tire rim, so it's not just pure sponge, or else that would be bad. But it's still like, I mean, sponge and rubber aren't the furthest things apart from each other. It's not like they're ridiculously different, but one of the main goals of a tire, at least the rubber on a tire, is to channel water out of it. And I don't think I have to explain why sponge would be very bad at doing that. I docked it 10 points, which might be a bit excessive. But I can't even justify that. I must have thought that it was all made of sponge, because, I mean, sponge isn't that bad. Cushion wheels. So, unlike the sponge wheels, this is actually just pure cushion, which is just an automatic, that's the game. Also, I apologize for my inconsistent spelling of tire. The leaf wheel. So this is like, it is the grass texture from Animal Crossing of grass. I'm going to assume it's grass, like we have for every single vehicle so far. It says it's leaf. Yeah, what else can I say? It's got no rubber and it's made of grass. Golden wheels. Alright, I sort of alluded to this entry earlier on. I'm assuming this is made entirely of solid gold. It wouldn't matter if it wasn't, because you're still not allowed to coat your wheel with gold. It has to be rubber. But yeah, this looks entirely like solid gold. Obviously, there's issues there. Gold, it's weak, it's soft, it'll bend easily. These wheels will just be completely crumpled and flat within one use. I imagine I gave this like a 0. Golly, well, it's not really surprising it beats the cushion wheels. Moving on to the Triforce wheels. Again, not wrong here. They look like pretty safe wheels. They've got rubber, they've got a tire rim, they've got every wheel you need. Now we've got the Master Cycle Zero. This one was probably the hardest wheel to rank because I'm kind of unsure as to whether this is rubber or not. This is going to be one of those entries where it does come down to my personal opinion, and the reason I made the final ruling that this is rubber is just because of the way the light shines off of it in this model. I had nothing else to go off. I have docked it because it looks like there's not really a tire rim like this. The wheel looks completely hollow. That obviously wouldn't work. You do need like just complete dense metal to keep the structural integrity. It'd probably just crumple. So yeah, there is that. So I have had to give it a 2 out of 10 because it most likely wouldn't work. GLA wheels. I hate the implementation of Mercedes into this PowerPoint because it's just so lazy. I don't want to rank how road legal a GLA Mercedes is. So let's just move on. It's legal. It's obviously legal. It exists. It's based off something that really exists. I think it's just sort of lame for a video like this. Oh wow, that's the end of the wheels. Moving on to karts. So this is sort of just, I am about to put you down. Literally just ignore most of the stuff on here for now, because they're pretty unnecessary to go through anyway. All I want to talk about is the seatbelt law. Cars do have to have seatbelts, and none of the karts in this game appear to have any, which sucks. This one law gatekeeps every single car, even the Mercedes ones, from being legal. And I tried to weasel my way out of it and find loopholes, but I just couldn't, so technically, they are all illegal. So, on the official UK government website, and I can only assume this is the same in America, it pretty much directly states that if your car wasn't built with a seatbelt, then it's fine. It doesn't literally say that, but there's a section dedicated to the conditions you must meet if your car is like this, so... Now that sounds great, but I've already recorded and mostly edited this video, and I don't really fancy doing all that again.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa! That's too damn bad!
So, my compromise is that I'm going to cut out most of the seatbelt talk I can, and just edit over the score in the PowerPoint with the actual score. I understand how AIDS that's going to be to listen to, and to be honest, that is just the quality that should be expected from all my videos. I also want to cover the weird headlights in this game. So I got around halfway through making the PowerPoint. I ranked all the headlights. I deducted points for all vehicles with no headlights. Then I came across a post that said that every single vehicle has headlights, apparently. Some tracks, depending on whether there's dark paths of the map, will add headlights to the front of your vehicle. I don't know why it doesn't show these on the models at all time. Probably because they do look kind of out of place. But yeah, pretty much all of them have headlights. They all do. Whether they're attachable or whether they just come out when it's dark, it doesn't really matter. So if a vehicle doesn't have any visible headlights, I won't mark it down, seeing as they do exist, and whether or not they appear on the vehicle is ultimately down to the driver. So first we've got the standard car. Again, it's a go-kart. We have this in every single Mario Kart game. It's a go-kart. Obvious. I'm not gonna I did something in the last video where I say if it was an F1 vehicle, I was just gonna mark it down for being an F1 vehicle. I'm not doing that this time around. I'm gonna go into why it's illegal and not just say it's illegal. So this go-kart is illegal because it doesn't have a windshield, it doesn't have any side mirrors, and it doesn't have a wheel cover. So overall, it gets a 3 out of 10. We got the B Dasher. Okay. So this is sort of Mario Kart's depiction of an F1 vehicle, but it doesn't resemble ones in real life at all. Still though, it doesn't have a wheel cover, it doesn't have any side mirrors, and it doesn't have any rear reflectors. So it's getting a 5 out of 10. Very iconic vehicle. Apparently this vehicle sucks, though. We've got the Mach 8. This is sort of the B-Tech B-Dasher, isn't it? This is just the modern version of the B-Dasher. At least that's how I see it. Very similar vehicle. Doesn't have a windshield. Initially, I was going to say this was a windshield, but that is not even a stretch. That's just wrong. There's also no side mirrors, and there's no wheel covers, so it gets like a 6 out of... No, it doesn't. It gets a... Don't know how I always manage to get something wrong. This gets a 3 out of 10. I don't know where the fuck that 6 came from. Pipe frame. Okay. Apparently, these are... I was gonna mark this down for being obviously unprotected, because I don't think it's a stretch to say this is unprotected, but I didn't end up doing that. These are real cars. Again, real versions of this car. Still more advanced than the pipe frame. This is literally just like... There's nothing here. There's no body to this vehicle. It might as well just be a floating sea. This would fall under the category of radically altered vehicles. So, pretty much, this could technically be road legal if it, meets the requirements of what a car needs. And I know that goes without saying, but this is only its own separate law because these radically altered vehicles aren't your typical conventional cars, so this law is pretty much just making sure that it at least meets the bare minimum. But just by looking at it, you can probably tell it's not road legal. It's obviously not road legal. So much is wrong with this vehicle. No windshield, no side mirrors, no wheel cover, and no rear reflectors. To be honest, I don't feel bad about decimating this vehicle. Look at it. I would have felt incredible unease ranking this at road legal. So it gets a 2 out of 10. We got the Biddy Buggy. This is the cheap charger of this game. It literally is. It's just the cheap charger. The cheap charger didn't really score that well, and this one doesn't either. It doesn't have side mirrors, and it doesn't have a windshield. It's just a very odd-looking vehicle. It's still getting a 4 out of 10. Blue Falcon. The Blue Falcon was in Mario Kart Wii. I was not very generous to it in that video. I was actually really horrible to it. I was so generous. So a 1 out of 10 is just like terrible. This one I don't think gets much more praise. Look at the vehicle. It doesn't have a windshield. You could say this is a windshield, but let's just go back. I'd like you to, if you are going to say there's a windshield, I'd like you to point out how this is helping anyone. This is covering his feet. This does not classify. It shouldn't be down below his ankles. Yeah, there's no rear reflectors either, and there's no side mirrors. So this gets a 3 out of 10. The Cat Cruiser. Again, this is like the Wild Wing of this game. It's a similar shape, in a way. I don't know. I feel like people won't really see where I'm coming from with this. Yeah, this one also upset me. This is literally the exact same case as the Wild Wing, where I couldn't make it 10 out of 10, all because it doesn't have side mirrors. So this gets a 7 out of 10, unfortunately. Sorry, Cat Cruiser. The Steel Driver. Okay. So there again, there's a lot wrong with this vehicle. You can already tell there's a lot wrong with this vehicle. There's holy fuck. I'm giving this a rest, you know what? I have nothing to waffle about with this vehicle. It's a 2 out of 10, so let's just move on. We've got the clown car, very iconic Mario vehicle. Unfortunately, because they wanted to make this vehicle unique, it doesn't abide by road laws, because look at it. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have wheel covers. It doesn't have side mirrors. It's just a plastic ball, isn't it? Although I haven't said it's plastic. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt this one time. I'll assume it's metal. It's just a metal ball. So yeah, I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. Rightfully so. Okay, we got the land ship. I remember I was quite unhappy with this vehicle when making it. I think this was one of the lowest performing vehicles. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I think this is the reason. It's made of wood. This is the first vehicle I think we've had to duck for its material. It's made of wood. Obviously, I don't think I have to explain why that's not good. If you're getting in a crash, say bye to your life, because this is not doing anything to protect you. I mean, no, most of the vehicles in this game aren't protecting you from a crash anyway. But I'm specifically bullying this one. No windshield, no rear reflectors. Is there even any point of me reading this shit out? You can read, okay? You just look for yourself. Jeez, I don't know why this has happened. Just try and decipher this. -2. It doesn't matter. It gets a 0. Alright, this is our F1 vehicle. The Circuit Special. And I think this might be a modded version of it. It doesn't really matter though. For starters, no back wheel cover. There's one on the front, not one on the back. There's no rear reflectors. There's no windshield or side mirrors, because F1 vehicles don't need them. So it gets a 2 out of 10. We got the street one. Okay. I don't really know what to say about this vehicle. Pretty fucking ugly if you ask me. So it's not got a windshield, evidently. There's no side mirrors, no wheel covers, no rear reflectors. I'm not sure if this is the Animal Crossing vehicle of this game, you know. I couldn't tell you. Not that it matters. I don't even know why I'm talking about that. This gets a 2 out of 10 in my books. Something I'm noticing so far, a little side tangent. I think the vehicles in this game are slightly less unusual than they are in Mario Kart Wii. That is something I've been noticing so far. They're a lot less legal, but they're a lot less unique as well. They're just more casual vehicles that are just missing basic things. The ones in Mario Kart Wii, I docked them points because there was like fucking bomb on the hood or something weird like that. Anyway, gold cart. So you know that thing I said about the wheels? If it says it's a gold cart or like a gold wheel, I'm just going to assume it's made entirely of gold. I think I applied that differently this time because I looked it up and there are some cars out there, very expensive cars obviously, but there are some cars that are just coated in gold. And that is illegal itself. If it's just coated in gold, it's not actually made of solid gold, then I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and that's what I did here. And I don't think it being called a gold cart, I don't think that necessarily means it has to be made entirely of solid gold. I do realize I am entirely contradicting what I said, like, literally 15 minutes ago. But I think it works differently with cars. Anyway, sorry for that tangent. Still not legal at all. No side, nothing. There's no windshield or side mirrors or wheel cover. It's just pretty much the go-kart, isn't it? It is just coated in gold. So it gets a 3 out of 10. The Prancer. So this vehicle has something unique about it. Those horses on the front move. Most of you probably knew that. They move. The speed at which they move depends on how fast you are going. Now, it's very, very unique. This type of thing doesn't exist in real life, but something about this doesn't seem legal. I don't know. These horses on the front of your car moving at like 90 miles per hour, something about that doesn't seem right. So I have applied that. I don't know what exactly it is. It is a visual block as well, but the fact that they're moving, there has to be someone. If someone with knowledge maybe help me with this, but I will be, correct me if I'm wrong, I won't really mind, but that's just my, again, there's no law regarding this obviously because this doesn't exist anywhere else, but you know what, correct me on it, please, or defend me on it. Either way, I just want answers. Anyway, he gets a 0 out of 10 for that. Because again, you can't see shit. You feel the We got the sports coupe. This is a pretty safe vehicle. Relatively safe on the standards of the vehicle so far. Unfortunately, there's no side mirrors, like pretty much every single car in the game. Nintendo really needs to start adding these for my sanity. Yeah, that's about all I can say about this vehicle, isn't it? There's no side mirrors. What else do you want me to say? It's yellow. The Tanuki car, this is another pretty like usual looking vehicle. This looks just fairly normal. But again with the side mirrors, it's just upsetting really, because this would be like pretty much road legal if it wasn't for that stupid side mirrors law. This fucked us in the last video as well. This law is like the biggest enemy for these type of videos, because none of the cars want to have side mirrors. 7 out of 10. The P-Wing. This is obviously just a race car. It's like a luxurious modern sports car. These are entirely legal. This one is not, because it doesn't have rear reflectors. This was another just sort of lame law, I'll be honest, while making this video. I did not like this law, but again, I don't make the law. It gets a 6 out of 10. The Tri-Speeder. This is like the nostalgia of this game. Well, oh wait, I do realize a lot of you don't call it the nostalgia, sorry, the classic dragster. This is sort of that vehicle of the game. It's another vintage car. Again, I'm not gonna dock it for that. I am gonna dock it for everything else it does wrong. That being no wheel covers, no side mirrors, or no windshields. It's a 3 out of 10 vehicle, man. Let's move on to this vehicle. Wow, okay, that's a lot worse than I thought this would do. To be honest, I thought of initial sight, I thought this would be a pretty street legal vehicle. There's no wheel cover. I'm right, there isn't. No rear reflectors. Can't see the back, but I assume I'm right on that. Gets a... We will never know what it gets. Oh, okay. Okay, let's do this then. We're going to be ranking the Mercedes vehicles now, which I don't even know if I should have put these in the video because they are in the game, but basically what I'm doing right now is I am ranking the legality of vehicles that already exist and are road legal. That being said, Nintendo did sort of criminalize these vehicles in the game because this vehicle doesn't have rear reflectors and it doesn't have side mirrors, so it gets 6 out of 10, which is honestly embarrassing. The SL Roadster. There's nothing wrong with this vehicle. This is the highest ranking car in the game. And that makes me unfathomably upset because it's not a Mario Kart vehicle, is it? I don't really know what to say about this. I'm honestly tempted to just leave them out the tier list, to be honest. I'll decide how I feel when I'm editing because I've already made it incredibly clear how I feel about this. Now we've got the Silver Arrow. Is another vintage car, well not really vintage, kind of vintage. It doesn't look usual, does it? It doesn't have rear reflectors and it doesn't have any wheel cover. So it gets a 6 out of 10. It gets a 7 out of 10. Oh. Okay, we're done with cars. Jesus Christ. Alright, we're moving on to ATVs. This is a unique type of vehicle. We didn't cover ATVs in the Mario Kart Wii one because they didn't exist. So ATVs on their own being legal is a very big grey area. I've made this. So quad bikes, they have to be able to ride them on roads. All right, it has to go through quite a big process. They need to be approved. I mean, you can read. They need to go through all this shit, and then it will achieve a type approval. Just loads of crap. Yeah, here's what it needs. And even when it does achieve all of these, it being road legal is still kind of a grey area. So I'm not gonna pull my punches when ranking these vehicles because, again, when was the last time you saw someone driving an ATV on the motorway or highway? It doesn't happen, does it? Because it's very rare that would even be allowed. So here's all the laws I'm going to be going through. Actually, I just want you to ignore all this right now. I want you to hone in on the side mirrors law. if we only apply that law, nothing else, then they're all already illegal. This isn't a juke this time either, they're all genuinely illegal, so we'll just speedrun this section because we already know what the end result is going to be. The standard ATV, it doesn't have a wheel cover, as well as not having side mirrors, so this gets a 7 out of 10. Yeah, the teddy buggy, obviously a lot wrong with this vehicle, I'll probably already tell. It's made of what looks like cotton, as well it's a teddy buggy, so it wouldn't be that outlandish for it to be made of cotton. There's also no wheel covers on this vehicle, not good at all. It gets a 4 out of 10. Wild Wiggler. Okay, this kind of scary vehicle, I won't lie. This vehicle, it was kind of hard to determine whether it had rear reflectors or not. They didn't look like rear reflectors, so I've just said they weren't. I think that's just a matter of opinion, because there's no actual way of telling whether they are rear reflectors. They might just be for decoration. You never know. So at the end of the day, it's completely up to you. Well, it's completely up to me. I'm saying there's no rear reflectors. Gets a 7 out of 10. The Bone Rattler. This is this vehicle is obviously I mean, like, I understand whether you thought the spike law in the last video was a bit unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable here, because I feel like when you crash, you're sort of gonna stab yourself. If you're launching yourself into these spikes, yeah. I mean, there's obviously stuff wrong with this vehicle. If you hit someone with your quad, those spikes are gonna make it a lot worse. So I'm gonna say that it is illegal. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it is illegal. Like, that is a fact. You're not allowed to have spikes in your vehicle. 6 out of 10. The Ink Striker. This vehicle, it doesn't have a wheel cover. That's all I can say about it. Yeah, 7 out of 10. And finally, we've got the ATV. Not the ATV, the Splat Buggy. Half this fucking recording is gonna be like the PowerPoint loading, you know? What do I even say, bro? It doesn't. I can't even speak anymore. And that's it's a 6, by the way. This section, I'm gonna try and make this section just like 2 minutes long, because I already understand that none of these are legal. No one wants to see that. Okay, now finally, we got the bikes. I left bikes for last for one reason. One reason only. And it's a good reason. There isn't a law that's mass genociding all the bikes here. Some of these bikes, I'll give a spoiler alert, some of them are legal. Like, obviously this isn't all the laws a bike has to abide by, but these are the only laws that are broken in the video. Generally, the bikes in this game, they're pretty law-abiding. There's nothing wrong with them, really. It was a bit like that in Mario Kart Wii as well, but yeah. A bike, I mean, in real life, a bike doesn't really need as much to be legal as a car does. But in this game, even so, it follows a lot of laws, which I can respect, to be honest. They're pretty safe vehicles. This is literally all we will be deducting points for. Kind of a depressing slide, really. Okay, we got the standard bike. I literally couldn't find anything bad about this vehicle. There is nothing to say about it. I mean, we don't even have to cover the wheels. 10 out of 10. Nothing wrong with the standard bike. The Flame Flyer. Similarly, there's nothing wrong with this vehicle. It's got everything your bike needs. I will say they are legal, but God, they are boring. I won't lie. The vehicles in this game are way more. They really try less, don't they? That's one thing I hope Mario Kart 9 does. Anyway, Varmin. Okay. This one, once again, nothing wrong here. It's got footrests. Every bike has got footrests. It's got, I mean, what doesn't it have is what we should really be asking. 10 out of 10. Okay. Cat Tripper. Alright, now we have something to talk about. Again with the mopeds. In the last video, I can't remember, it was the Sugar Scoot. There was a vehicle called the Sugar Scoot that came up. That was also a moped. And I ranked it as illegal because mopeds, again, it's kind of like it changes between places, but mopeds aren't really street legal. The only reason for that is because they don't usually go up to high enough speeds. Sorry, wait, I got that entirely wrong then. They are street legal, but they're not allowed to be driven on highways, and that's because their top speed can't really reach that to compete on a highway. It can't really go fast enough to sort of keep up with other cars. But I am not looking at this vehicle like that, because we can already see this vehicle can go all the way up to 200cc if it wanted to. So if the only reason that a moped wouldn't be allowed on highways is because of the speed, then that wouldn't apply to this vehicle, because we already know the top speed can compete very well with other vehicles on a highway. There is also the fact that I searched it up, and apparently the law backs me up on that one. You can drive mopeds if they are above 50cc, which is cool, I guess. Oh, I've literally put this right here as well. Can go anywhere fast enough. It's fast enough. We've already seen that. So now, taking that into account, it's another 10 out of 10 vehicle. Lovely. The Duke. This is a very this is a chopper-like vehicle. What do you call those? A biker vehicle. A Harley Davidson type vehicle. No. I think it is anyway. It's hard to tell. I picked a shitty image here. Yeah, you are sitting quite far back. And again, surprise, surprise, there's nothing wrong with this vehicle. Okay, Mr. Scooty, now we've actually got something to talk about. Okay, so there's obviously, evidently, just by looking at it, there's a lot wrong with this vehicle. Firstly, I'm kind of scared to go back because it'll take ages to load. But Link was crumpled over on this vehicle. That shows that it's like similar to this guy right here. He was crumpled over like this guy. So it sort of shows it's a very small bike. These are called monkey bikes. They're too small to really be legal on roads. They're not protective enough. They lack sufficient protection as well as just everything else. Yeah, that being said, it's already illegal from the get-go. There's also the fact that it's made of plastic, which, yeah, that will obviously lead to some issues. So it's too small and made of plastic. And it gets a 4 out of 10. Okay, so we've got the Master Cycle Zero. There's no rear reflectors, and I've also picked out the sharp edge on the front. I don't know if that would... It would, to be fair. Again, it's a spike. I've already talked about the spikes in a vehicle, and that is probably the worst possible place to have a spike as well. Because again, if you're driving into someone, that isn't helping their chances of survival. You know what? I've given it an 8 out of 10. Realistically, I should dock it more for the spike, but another boring as shit vehicle. What do you want me to say? Gets a 10 out of 10 in my books. The Yoshi bike. Okay, there's a few things I can say about this vehicle. Actually, no, there isn't. Jet bike. All right, this would be road legal, but unfortunately, you might have picked it out by now. It's got a sharpish edge at the front. This isn't like dead spiky. I've literally just caught onto these spikes, so I'm gonna use this as another justification. Oh, and there's no rear reflectors. I even pointed that out. No, I didn't. Yet another mistake on the slide. It gets an 8 out of 10. The Comet bike. This one, I wanted to say something about the fan on the front, to be honest, because this is a fan that moves. But again, I couldn't really find anything that was saying that it would be road legal or road illegal. I don't think any vehicles really exist with this on the front. Yeah, I think this is just kind of a unique trait of this vehicle. And to be honest, it's one thing with the horses on the Prancer, but this isn't. I don't think this is the same thing. It isn't at all the same thing because it's not a visual block. I don't really think this is going to be that dangerous. I think this is just a unique part of the vehicle. So I'm going to say that I'm just going to ignore that completely. Other than that, it's completely safe. And the fan doesn't even protrude at all. So again, there's really no justification for marking the vehicle down for that. I don't see how this would be doing any damage. So yeah. 10 out of 10. I don't see anything wrong with it. The Master Cycle. Alright, unlike the Master Cycle Zero, this one seems fairly safe, to be honest. I couldn't really find a lot about this vehicle that would be regarding it as legal in any way. It's not got anything wrong with it. It's got everything a bike needs. It does have... This is a weird model. It has rear reflectors in the game. This is just sort of like a random model I found off of Etsy, I think it was. There's also the shield. That is legal to carry around. I did look into that, if you're allowed to have things like dangling off your bike like that. Not dangling, but if you was allowed to mount stuff on your bike, you are. So that's completely fine itself. Oh wait, is that the last vehicle? Holy, it's the last vehicle. I've been here so long. Look, 213 slides this was. This was 213 slides. This took a very long time to make, this PowerPoint. So, yeah. Thank you very much for look, I am exhausted. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, goodbye.